Hey, welcome everyone. I'm Robbie, and today we are talking more about a topic that is based off psychology. Since my background is in psychology, we're talking about emotional abuse, verbal abuse, and mental abuse caused by people sometimes that we have in our life. And so this video is going to be about that and how we can deal with it and what we need to do, and ultimately the hard choices we have to make with such people in our lives. So let's get into this video. So emotions are learned responses that will increase in our life. They will keep getting stronger the more we practice and use them. And if we have certain people in our lives that are constantly causing us to react in one of these negative type emotions on a continual basis, then what we need to understand is that negative emotion that we experience with that person will increasingly become stronger and stronger over time. The more we experience them, of course, the more you practice anything in life, the better you become at it. Now, this means whatever negative emotion this particular person is bringing out in you, it will become habitual and will be easily triggered with other people when they act and behave similar. It'll be readily and available, easily accessible. And the reason this happens is because the mind and the nervous system keep a memory of these emotions that we experience, and so they're easily triggered in certain events and behaviors of people. Now, in this particular case that I'm talking about, when you have a certain type of person in your life who basically creates continually a particular negative emotion in your life, they would be the source or the reason that you're feeling this negative emotion. And if you pay attention, it would be when the pure source of the negative emotion comes out in its fullest form. Now, hear me out. I am not saying we should blame other people for our emotions. We should be in control of our emotions, and we should not let other people control us by triggering us and allowing us to become emotional, because that's basically what is happening. A person has a power over you if they can so easily trigger you to become emotional. It is a type of control. What I am saying is that if we have a person in our life who constantly produces negative behavior in us, and it becomes a struggle, then we have to ultimately come to a decision so that we can get rid of these negative emotions, or at least work towards correcting these emotions with more positive emotions. We want people that are in our inner circle to bring out the best in us and not the worst. If you yourself are experiencing a history of emotional, verbal abuse with a particular person, then you must understand the dangerous impacts that this is having on your life. And this can absolutely affect your relationships with other people, with friends. It actually can push them away. We also must realize that we cannot control anyone else's behavior, but we can only control our behavior. And of course, this takes responsibility, discipline, new strategies that will help us achieve the emotions and the character traits that we want to be ourselves. This means correcting our old habits and replacing them with new habits. Anytime you take away any type of behavior or anything that you're trying to correct, you must replace it with something new, or else you will fall back into the old ways in which you did things. It's critically important. So without further ado, I want to go through a couple of steps that I recommend that will help with this type of situation and help us to heal and correct old patterns, behaviors, emotions that we wish to correct. So the first step is that we calmly express our feelings to the person that is verbally abusing us or emotionally abusing us. However, if you've been in prolonged emotional abusive situations, the chances of them listening may be slim. Also, depending on the individual you're dealing with, this could cause more complications. Unfortunately, we live in a world where people don't want to take responsibility for their actions and instead use childish and manipulative tactics against us when we call them out for their bad behavior or when they've done something wrong to us. Now, you may find that when you start to bring up your concerns with a person, they will not listen, they will not acknowledge, they will deny they did anything at all, they will gaslight you. They will blame shift, which is taking what you said about them and then in turning it around and putting it back on you. Now you are on the defensive. They will twist your words and they will play victim, putting the spotlight on them, and therefore they don't have to be accountable for their behavior. So now you find yourself on the defensive and you find yourself being attacked only because that you are trying to express yourself and how you felt or how they made you feel. This makes it harder to control our emotions when we get around a person like this because we feel an overwhelming amount of frustration because this is an unfair situation that we're in. And if you've ever been in a situation like this, you will feel like you've been made to be the bad person because that's how they're going to look at you. Because obviously you're the one that's upset and they have you right where they want you. Because to them, it's like a game. It's how can they be right and how can they not take the blame for what they originally did. So what turns out to be a rather small thing turns into a big argument. So let's break this down because it's really important to understand the pattern of such people that we may have in our life if this is in fact what we are dealing with. So let's quickly look at 6 things that's going on. Number 1, you were upset because they insulted you or they made you feel a certain way. You got your feelings hurt or whatever the misunderstanding is. That's number 1, and you are addressing it. Number 2, you don't feel like you were heard. You presented your point. You communicated effectively. And they used one of the following tactics that I mentioned earlier to either blame shift, play victim, etc. So you don't feel like you were heard. Number 3, they denied they did anything at all, so they're gaslighting you and they're not taking responsibility for their own behaviors. Number 4, they put you on the defensive. Now they've taken what you've said and they've twisted it, they've turned it around, and they put it back on you. Number 5, they are playing victim. They are accusing you of attacking them for their very own behavior that they originally did to you. And number 6, now you're feeling overwhelmed with even more emotions and frustration, getting nowhere, and you find that they've put the blame on you and now you're the bad guy. Now, the reason such a caliber person would do such a thing is because they are weak people and they cannot take constructive criticism. Therefore, they never will take responsibility for anything they've ever done in their lives. And this means they're never going to change because they don't think there's anything wrong with them. Because such people blame other people for everything. And so you'll find yourself being a participant in the gaslight blame shifting game. And if this is what you are dealing with on a regular basis, then I recommend two options. First, you can end the conversation and walk away because it's not going to go anywhere. And the longer you stay in this conversation, the more frustrated you're going to be. Because really, why do you want to waste your time or your emotional energy on someone who isn't going to listen or care what you have to say? It's just simply not worth it. Life is too short. And remember what is going on in your mind and your nervous system. This is damaging. Do you really want to develop negative emotions that is going to take you a lifetime to correct? And keep in mind, we are all responsible for our own reactions. So if this step does not work, it is best to stay away from such a person. It doesn't matter if they are family. Family should make you feel loved, at peace. It should be a place where you feel comfortable, not a place where you are constantly being attacked or finding yourself in arguments. It is best to leave such situations if, in fact, this is what you're going through and find your peace somewhere else. Keep your distance. Limit your interactions with such a person the best you can. Give yourself reminders about who they are, and so you can be reminded when you do have contact with them that you can be guarded and not fall into their traps that they are so readily to set for you. I would like to end this video with 7 key points to take away. Number 1, emotions are learned. The more we use them, the more powerful they become. So practice on a daily basis. Number 2, express yourself calmly and clearly when your boundaries are violated. If they refuse to listen or acknowledge, and the situation becomes habitual, causing emotional abuse, then walk away, limit your time with them, or you can cut them out of your life completely. And number 3, remember, it is not your job to change people. It is your job to change yourself. Number 4, prolonged exposure to negative emotions and confrontations over a long period of time lead to traumatic emotional abuse, which also may take a lifetime to correct and heal. Number 5, family is a superficial term. True family will treat you with respect, love, and kindness. Don't let someone tell you you are their family if they constantly argue with you and attack you verbally or emotionally. And number 6, relationships are a two-way street. It takes two to listen. Acknowledging what the other person says is often the most common step that is skipped. If you are not being heard, not being acknowledged, or if someone says they are sorry but keeps repeating the same offense over and over again on a regular basis, are they really sorry? Did they really listen? And number 7, you have the option to stay or walk away. Remember, no one is perfect. We all have our faults. So keep this situation in the context of which we are talking about. And we are talking about toxic, emotionally abusive, and verbally abusive people that are trying to destroy our lives. Arguments will happen from time to time, so know the difference. And remember, it is always important to forgive because Jesus said if we do not forgive, he will not forgive us. But that does not mean that we need to keep such people in our lives on a regular basis, especially if they are constantly bringing us down and causing us emotional trauma. So keep that in mind as well. Well, I hope this has been a helpful video. I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.